listening to the Breakfast Show here on Faith FM. We have Jennifer on the line.
Jennifer, are you with us?
I am. I'm here.
Very good.
The
Thank
one
you
and
so
only.
much. So, Jennifer, what do you bring to us about the world of relationships today that we can learn?
Okay. Before I start, I know I'm having some problems with my word pronunciation, and I just wanted to explain to the listeners that I've had a couple of back teeth removed, and it's caused a swelling of the tongue.
Oh.
It's not painful. I don't have any problems other than trying to speak, which in my business is not good. But nothing I can do other than it's improving, so I've just got to give it lots of time.
I remember when I got my wisdom teeth removed, it happened the exact same thing to me.
Yes, the swelling and as I said, it's not painful, but I've just got to slow the speech down a bit and make sure I speak clearly.
Okay.
As clearly as I can. So it's not a problem. It just sounds worse than what it is.
All right. So, okay, Jennifer, so, well, with that out of the way, so can you tell us a little bit about where are we in our journey about understanding and having tips to better relationships?
Okay. Last week we started talking about relationship breakdown, and we talked about criticism and how one of the first steps is we start criticizing the other person. And that means what we do is we pick at them. We see all the faults in that person. They never do anything right, and we start complaining about them. But if we don't stop it at that point, we start to have what we call contempt for that person. And that means we show disrespect, we might mock them, we might be more sarcastic, and it's like we take a superior stance over them.
Wow.
So I'm better than them and they're not good enough. That's the attitude. So, but if you pick it up at criticism, because often who do you go to criticize? Not the person, we go to other people. So that's a first signal to say something's not right in this relationship. Does that make sense?
Yes. Certainly there's a problem in the communication channel that you don't feel that you can talk about the issues with that person, so you ended up going to third parties and other people to talk about it.
Yeah. And sometimes we might not want to say anything to the person about our criticism because we don't want to hurt them, right? But we actually hurt them by doing that, because eventually what we say to them becomes a big problem.
Yes.
Okay. So if we can work out what it is that I'm having a problem with that person and find a really good way to talk to them about it.
Do you have a little formula? Because surely, the other extreme would be there are problems, you're not criticizing, you're not bringing that up to the person, so you're just like, swallowing it and absorbing it, and that cannot possibly end well. That's right?
There is an interesting little formula called a criticism sandwich, where you give the person a positive. I really like you and we've got on very well. But the other day when you didn't call me, I was, you said you would and you didn't. I was a bit upset about it. So is everything okay? So instead of just outrightly criticising, you give a positive about the person and then state what the problem is without attacking.
Very interesting. I actually heard this somewhere, Jennifer, and I actually wanted to share with you, see if you kind of agree with that statement. Someone was saying that, curiosity should trump judgment. So curiosity over judgment. So instead of approaching them with hey, I'm coming with a judgment. You didn't call me. Why are you doing this? Why do you make me feel, why are you despising me or treating me like this or excluding me? replacing that by just an attitude of curiosity, saying, hey, you didn't call me. I'm just curious, like, is that everything okay? What happened? So is that something that, you think that, is there any wisdom in that approach? Like, this is something that you think it's helpful?
We check it out instead of just, as you said, judging or condemning that person. So this is where find out, because sometimes we misinterpret their actions, right? Or they might be having a problem themselves and we're not picking it up.
Okay. All right.
So that's where we open communication. Yeah, and this is where I find then the person like, oh, yes, I had a really bad headache and I forgot. So it's not personal. We personalize things.
Wow. Okay. So what I'm getting from it is when we feel hurt by someone, instead of giving into the temptation of criticizing them behind their back, we should, with a spirit of curiosity, to ask them directly and say, hey, this happens. I'm just curious, like, what happened? Is everything okay? But then what? What would the person normally say into that, space normally? How do we go from there?
Well, if the person gives you insight into why they did what they did, because it's what people do that we have a problem with, right? Or what they say. But this is where open communication makes a big difference as to the outcome of this relationship. So it's doing that. But this is where one of my questions when I'm struggling with someone is, am I focusing on me? Is this about self, or is this about the other person? And often we go to self. We become self-centered. It's all about us. So we have to shift the focus, because have a look at God and Christ are always other-focused, and they do it with love. Once we become self-centered, and this is where if you get hurt, it's about self. And we don't work out what really happened. There's no healing. So this is, if we pick it up at that early stage, it won't get worse and worse.
Okay, but then I have a question for you, Jennifer.
Yes.
What happens when it is a recurring thing? Because, for example, let's say a person, you're confronting someone because, I don't know, they disrespected you, and you go and you say, hey, look, you said this and this and this. I'm a little bit curious what prompted that. I felt a bit disrespected, but I wanted to understand your side of things. And the person says, oh, really, did I do that? Oh, I'm so sorry. I won't do this again. But then it happened again, and then again, and then again, and then again. And you start second-guessing the sincerity of that person. And you think, hey, it looks like it's on purpose. Like, at what point and how do we actually confront the root at its evil? Sorry, the evil at its root.
Okay. If it happens again, and that can happen, then we need to talk to the person again. We need to go back to them and start to dialogue again as, look, I thought we'd sorted this out. Is it something I'm doing that's a problem for you? Maybe look at what you're doing that they might want to mention but they're reacting to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're kind of like, in the second time, you're kind of giving them a chance and you're taking the responsibility and saying, hey, am I the source of the problem here? Am I doing something that is triggering that?
Yeah. And then we go to a boundary. And that means we have to say, well, you said you won't do it and you keep doing it and that hurts me. So what can we do about it? And this is where you then have to work out the boundaries within that relationship. But some people, I've had that problem. For example, I've made friends with someone. We've got to know each other. There might be a girlfriend or whatever, and they never ring you, and you're always doing the ringing, the phoning. And I found, a couple of times that's happened with different people, and I've rung them and said, look, how come I always seem to be the one who has to phone you? And they go, oh, I never phone anyone. You know, they don't care. So that was the end of one friendship. I thought, well, unless they want to communicate with me, I'm doing all the legwork. So this is where it becomes a one-sided friendship. Yeah. So this is where we make decisions, and some people don't want to change. Well, it's as good as it gets. If you don't like it, too bad. You know, people have attitudes, but not always. Some people, there's other things that need to be resolved to build that friendship or that relationship. And it's worth working at.
And when do you think is the time to let a friendship go? Or do we need to always kind of bend over backwards to preserve them? Like from a biblical perspective, how do you navigate that?
That's a bit of a hard question. It varies with different people. But I'm one who will persevere with a friendship until it's obvious that it's just not working. So it comes up with, I guess we have our own standard as to when enough is enough. And sometimes we just walk away from a relationship. I mean, it's certainly at the moment I'm talking about friendships. When it's a marital relationship or even friendships, we can get some counselling help. You know, get someone else who is an objective person to help us resolve it. But if it's not resolvable, then either you live with it or you leave it. There's only those two choices. Some people don't want to change, and that's the bottom line. But that's the worst scenario. But I find when we put effort in and we look at respecting the person and the boundaries and we stop getting caught up in our own personal stuff, that we get a lot more from people.
Have you been through this, Lawson? Have you been through this, like where you have to have like a difficult conversation with someone because you're starting to hold a grudge in your heart against them, and you say, you know what, I'm gonna deal with that. Like, has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it definitely has happened to me. I would say, the area where it has happened, honestly, for me, it's been less so in friendship. I think it's happened in friendships and more so, honestly, in relationships. But like, as in like romantic relationships, there's been times where I felt more compelled to have these conversations. I'm tending to be pretty easy breezy and let things slide. Like, and maybe that's not the best thing to do, but yeah, look, ultimately, like that idea of needing to, talk things out and talk to people, and I think it's necessary. When actually, I would say the people that I've done it with the most is actually my family, like as in my immediate family,
which can sometimes be some of the hardest people to talk about.
Yeah, but it's like, because family are, for life. People come in and out of your life, and I want to love people and I want people to be a part of my life. Don't get me wrong, but family are for life, and so I think there's a real incentive there for me to go like, how can I be a blessing to my family, and so how can I sort out those problems?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So Jennifer, what can we practice? What can we practice this week? What can we adopt from that conversation about, avoiding criticism and approaching it from a different way?
Well, I think we have to look at ourselves and look at, am I communicating in a way that is helpful? Am I looking at the other person and really finding out where they're coming from? Check things out more. Don't just react to something, or if you're reacting, don't assume they are the problem. Find out, are they okay? What's wrong with them? Just a simple example with the phoning. If someone doesn't phone you, don't think the worst. Phone them and say, oh, you're okay. I thought you were going to phone me. Show concern to the other person.
Yeah, wow.
Well, Jennifer, thank you so much. There's definitely lots of food for thought here. Thank you so much for today's conversation, and we pray that your mouth will heal very soon, and you'll get able to continue speaking clearly as you have always done. Thank you so much, Jennifer. We're looking forward to catch up with you again